All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome, Rock Bottom Podcast with Ray DeVito. I'm Ray DeVito. Um, and the Shuli Network is down for the week. They have a music thing, music copyright thing that they had to work out, so they're doing that. But we're on my channel. That's where we're at. And quick shout out to my sponsors, SilkCityHotSauce.com. SilkCityHotSauce.com. Put in Rock B and get my pain in the brain hot sauce. Look at that, Jesse. Jesse Joyce is my guest. Does that look like me, Jesse?
Is that's supposed to be? That's you?
That's me.
Is it really like your design? You're on a bottle of hot sauce now. That's
I'm
cool.
on a bottle of hot sauce. I tell you.
If I remember correctly, this is not going to affect the sponsorship, but like you're personally not a hot sauce consumer, or are you?
No, I'm the exact opposite.
I know, right? Yeah, like you get all sweaty and stuff, right? Like,
I love hot sauce.
Oh, you do?
I love it. Yeah, Jesus. Oh. How well do we know each other? You're my best friend for years, and wow.
But I do know that you get all like you're a very sweaty guy, and like
I am a sweaty guy. Yeah.
That they don't like. I thought I must be conflating you with somebody else, but I'm really so is it because I'm really into hot sauce too. Like so,
I love hot sauce. I'll send you some. This is like the hottest sauce I have.
That's what I'm curious about. So like, what is the story behind you being on a bottle of hot sauce? That's exciting.
SilkCityHotSauce.com. Yeah, and that's Fred Harper. He does comic books for Marvel and DC.
Why are you on a bottle of hot sauce? That's what you're
because people like my podcast, Jesse. They think I'm funny. So they want me. They're fans of mine. Fred Harper's a fan of mine.
That's cool. I think that's awesome. This is a new development for me. I didn't realize that you are now on a bottle. That's incredible. That's very cool.
Yeah, there's Fred Harper's comic book, Snelson.
That's really neat.
It's about a comic that got canceled, like some 80s. It's a pretty funny. He just did the illustrations. He didn't write it. I do have a funny story about this. So Fred Harper he did like a signing, and I host a show at the Stand. So we're gonna do like a comic books signing too at the Stand on one of my shows on one of the Tuesdays. And so Patrick, who's the owner, I told him about it, and the guy who wrote the foreword to the comic, which Fred Harper didn't know, is do you remember the guy's name, Seth Simons? He was just some he tried to he's the one that got Shane Gillis fired from SNL. He's the one that went on witch hunts looking for every little thing about comics to try to cancel.
Oh, he's like a writer? Okay.
Yeah, a huge douchebag. I guess he's like Fred doesn't know him. He just wrote the foreword of the comic book or whatever. But Patrick Millian just knew because of that dude. He's like, fuck no. Seth Simons can go eat a dick. So Seth Simons wasn't going to be there, and he ended up getting canceled because he got like Me Too'd by a bunch of women, which happens to a lot of these like over the top woke dudes. Same thing happened with Jamie Kilstein, who we're friends with.
Right.
Like he went that way too, trying to cancel comics, and then he ended up getting Me Too'd by.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I didn't mean to start the podcast like that, but yes, my hot sauce, Silk City Hot Sauce.
What is Silk? What is that? What city is Silk City? Is that supposed to be Cleveland?
No, the dude's up in Vermont, Jeff Levine.
Well, what the fuck is Silk City? Is what I'm getting to.
I don't know. I never asked him that. That's just what he decided to call his company.
Well, are you sure? Have you looked into it? Because like a lot of cities have like a weird nickname. Is there a Silk City? And what is it? I bet. No, you haven't looked into it.
I don't know. Wow, you did. Here's another one of his brands. This is not me, but this is one that I also like.
Is that another kind of hot sauce?
Yeah, not mine, but yeah.
Okay, that's neat.
You're the first one to ask questions about that. Look at that. I like that.
Well, I'm like really into hot sauce. Like I'm not one of those like I don't like collect it or anything like that, but like I like that's like shitty little stores in the mall that'll have just hot sauces. Like I always go in there. So and that kind of bottle is like like I gravitate toward like zany. So yeah, I would have tried that hot sauce.
Yeah. So
anyway, good stuff. That's cool. It's exciting for you and me. It's exciting.
For those of you that do not, what's up, buddy?
Have you ever put, if you like spicy, have you ever put, it's going to sound weird, cayenne pepper on chocolate ice cream?
No.
It's amazing.
That just sounds like just such an accident. Like, even if it happened, if I accidentally spilled cayenne pepper on chocolate ice cream, I'd be like, I would scoop it out.
I'm telling you, it's really good. It makes it like spicy chocolate ice cream. It's delicious.
Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? Yeah.
No. I know it sounds like a weird, but there was a place out here in LA that made it, that like made like hot, like spicy chocolate ice cream, and then they went out of business. But I
Because
like
nobody
loved
bought
it.
it. You're the only one there. Like,
Yeah, but I loved it, and so then I like figured out how to make it myself, and it's very easy. You just need a bottle, like one of those little like spice containers of cayenne pepper, and you just dump it on chocolate ice cream. It's delicious. Just try it once. I think you'll like it.
all right, I'll try it out. I'll just put that hot sauce next time I get some Ben and Jerry's.
Well, see, but
I'll put
hot
it
sauce I
on.
think has like vinegar in it and stuff like that. That'll ruin an ice cream. But just pure cayenne pepper, it's very good on ice cream. So
But I like it, man. I like coffee. I like hot sauce. Anything that helps me go number two easier. I'm all
that has been a
for it.
lifelong problem of yours. I remember
Yeah.
there have been many times that we were on the road together, and I would just end up sitting in a hotel lobby for an hour and a half while you tried to force out a turd.
I want it all out. If I'm going, I only go twice a day, but I want it all out. Why am I going to waste my time? I want to go back and do this an hour later. I want it all out. I want to make sure it's all out of me. And
It's a pathology, Ray.
all right. Those are
Anyway,
Jesse Joyce, one of the writers on Kimmel. How?
Yeah.
I hope the strike ends soon for you.
Oh boy, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, writing partner of Greg Giraldo for years. Wrote a bunch of Comedy Central roasts, jokes. Some people, Jimmy I get super chats on my thing. Thank you, Jimmy. Jesse, why hasn't Ray been on Kimmel? Help him. There you go.
When was the last time you saw a stand-up comic on Kimmel? That we don't really do stand-up comics very often. It's usually bands, So it's almost never like stand-ups these days. So
I saw that he's got a podcast now. Now that they're on strike, the other
they just started that. Yeah, they just started yesterday. Strike Force 5. Yeah.
And then I listened to just a part of it that was on Yahoo. So he said Matt Damon and Ben Affleck offered to pay his staff, which would be you.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Kimmel said, I said, no, I can't let you do that. It's like, did you run this by Jesse Joyce? Did you run it by Jesse? And be like, it's like, yeah, you guys could pay my bills for a week. What do I give a shit? Yes, of course.
No, Jimmy's been very good to us through the strike, for real. Like, it's not but I think that he was like, it's not your responsibility, you guys, random dudes. But that was very sweet of them.
Yeah, I know, but still, like, to answer on your behalf, like, excuse me, as a guy that was going to get money from this, can I answer this one? Like, I think Ben Affleck can afford it.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah. And I can see the chat. And here I thought Jesse Joyce was going to be pretty late. Oh, yeah. That happens to me my whole life. People hear Jesse Joyce and they assume.
And here I thought Jesse Joyce was going to be another pretty lady co-host that Ray's not interested in. Oh, because I had women on the pod. They think just because a woman's on their podcast that you're supposed to hook up with them. That's what they're. Did you know that? So apparently now, Jesse, you and I are supposed to hook up. That's how it goes.
It's a very arcane attitude to have.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesse.
And also, it's been a struggle my whole life that people hear the name Jesse Joyce and they assume that I might be a woman, because like Jesse is a name that can go either way, right? The girl's name has an I in it, but it's 50-50. That could be a girl or a guy named Jesse. The Joyce is, I think, what tips people 51% over into thinking I'm a woman, right? Because even though it's a last name,
so it's another woman's name.
Exactly right. So it's like, it's got to be a lady. So
Christina Maria.
And they're very disappointed.
Heard that? I'm a dude. Christina Maria.
Yeah, they're very disappointed. Yeah. So
Tiffany Michelle. It's a dude again. I don't get it.
We will not be hooking up right now.
Never happened the other way. Donald Timothy, and it's just some chick.
I think there's
these guys are good. There's gonna be ball busting. There are a lot of ball busters, but they're good. Yes, my fans
can go either way.
Yeah. My fans will call themselves. I did not name them this. They like to do this themselves. There's a Ray, TARDS. They'll call themselves that. Ray, CISTS. Ray Sexuals. Ray PISTS. That's what they call. That's what they call. Yes, I did not sign off on any of this, but that's
Okay. Sounds like you have a lot of
cool.
monsters to listen to. That's fun.
Yeah. Welcome to the internet, Jesse. It's
Yeah.
AI Ray. I'm perfect for comedy roast because I've grilled a steak, and I'll sear the insults and leave everyone well done with laughter. Hashtag steak skills roaster. They give me a hard time because I grilled steaks on the 4th of July, and I made my own grill. I took a grill. Have you ever done a grill from scratch? Where
Oh, of course not.
yeah, like we've all like we grew up in like kind of the suburbs. Like we had a propane grill.
Yeah,
Like you grill,
sure.
you just turn it on. But like this was in the park in Brooklyn. I had to like put charcoal, lighter fluid, and like get it started.
Yeah,
I thought that was a
like
big victory. It made me feel like a man.
Wait a minute though, but like in a pre-approved like city placed container for like one of those like concrete that you're supposed to have a barbecue, right? That's what it was for. It was designed for that. Okay, so yeah, when you said you made a barbecue, I just thought like I don't want you fucking around with fire. I don't trust you, right?
I took a grill, I put charcoal in it, not knowing how much charcoal to put in. If you don't know how much charcoal to put in and you're not going to grill again, I'd say go with the whole bag. Just do the whole bag.
And then so what? You took like a victory lap because you successfully grilled a steak? Is that what this is all about?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think that's the victory you think it is. I did a college in doing stand-up in way North Dakota, like the northernest part of North Dakota, just in the total middle of nowhere. And I can't even remember the name of the town, but and it was like a college of forestry. So there was like only literally like 100 students at the entire school. And 5 of them were missing, by the way. It was there were 95 kids at the show because the basketball team had an away game. So it was like quite literally, I performed for almost 100% of the student body, which is like the largest percentage of any school. But so you get there and it's like, this town is so small. They like literally just has like a single stop sign. And the place where I was staying, it was all like kind of like a strip mall complex. And so there was the hotel and then like a video rental store and then a bar and a liquor store. And they were all attached to each other. And I go to check into the hotel that they told me to go to. And there was a sign on it that said, I'm in the liquor store. And it was like, oh, okay. So I like walk a couple doors down and then it's the guy. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll check you in a second. And so like this guy ran all of these businesses, like he just like went back and forth, right? And so
share the wealth, man. There's like 10 other people in the town that don't have jobs because you insist on doing everything.
Yeah, he did. So he like ran. So and so then I go do the show, and then after the show, I'm like, hey, where can I get some food? And they're like, well, the bar, like the one like next to attached in that same. So I go back, and they give me a voucher, right, to like get dinner. So I go back. And the hotel guy is now there's nobody in the hotel. He's over at the
like
bar.
You need a voucher. Like you need a voucher. There's only 10 people in the town.
Yeah,
like,
he would know.
Tell him Tim said it's cool.
Yeah. So I go over to the bar and I'm like, hey, yeah, college said I could get dinner here or whatever. And so he hands me a menu. It's just steak, right? That's like all they have. And so I'm like, great, whatever. And I like, I'll have that one. And he goes to the freezer and he pulls out like a cold steak, like still in a plastic sealed package, and he just hands it to me and he goes, the grill's over there. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, it's right over there, just it's easy, it's instructions to turn it on. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I gotta grill my steak. And he was like, yeah, motherfucker, I work in the hotel and the video rental store and the liquor store, and I'm tending bar. I'm exhausted. Cook your fucking steak. Like that was kind of his attitude. And so I was like, okay. So I just like went into this kitchen of this bar and I like grilled myself a steak. And then I did a fine job with it.
That's hilarious. That's like going to Applebee's. Like I'll take some chicken tenders and just like, all right, the grill's over, the deep fry's over there.
Yeah, it was really unusual, but it was like such a small town that it was like, all right, well, thanks, I guess. So I did it myself. And I was a chef. I was a cook and a short order cook at a restaurant in North Dakota for 12 hours.
Terry Nees here. Why was Ray never on Red Eye? I was supposed to do it once, and I ended up getting booked for Carnival Cruise Line, and so I canceled it, and then I never got asked back.
I feel like that's almost accusatory. Like people are like, "Hey, Ray's friend Jesse, why'd you never get him on Red Eye?" Is that kind of was that the tone
I
of that?
don't know. I met Terry Nee before. I met him in Potsdam. He's a good guy. But
Okay.
no, I was actually supposed to do Red Eye once, and then I did a Carnival cruise, so I couldn't do it. And they said they'd give me another date, and then I never did it again. No, that's not. Yeah, Jesse, this is all your fault. Why am
Well,
I not in the,
was
clearly
that?
because you work on Kimmel? That's no. There's no. Yeah.
Well, I think they're meant because that guy Terry might know that I used to do Red Eye. You know.
Yeah,
So,
you were on Red Eye a bunch. Very popular.
I used
guest
to,
on
yeah.
Red Eye.
So, it got weird. I stopped doing it when like in like 2016, like they started getting real. Like a lot of the fans started getting like real defensive about Donald Trump, and I would make fun of him, and it started to get unpleasant to do that.
Well,
show.
we'll get into it, man. You met Donald Trump a couple times. Wrote some jokes for Donald Trump.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I'm going to read these two super chats, and then I want to hear some Donald Trump stories. Leo Gunn, Jeff's family was originally from Paterson, New Jersey, known as Silk City for its booming textile industry back in the day. Hashtag the more you know. I didn't know that.
No, that's
where it came from.
I like things like that. So thank you, Leo. I appreciate the insight. Jesse, why is it
Jimmy?
This is the same.
Jesse, why hasn't Ray been on Jimmy Kimmel as a musical guest? He has a hip hop video that can rhyme. Don't let us down. Booker / Jimmy. No, they bust balls. They're very funny, but they bust balls over here. Yeah. If they take shots, they're all going to be at me. Don't worry about it, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. That's fine. So that's a good one.
Yeah. Why am I not a musical guest? Come on, Jesse.
I was unaware of Ray's musical abilities.
I did Jim and Sam like a month ago, and you know how like you have I've never updated my website in whatever it is, and so it says on there can recite the lyrics every Frankie Valli song. So we spent an hour singing Frankie Valli songs on.
Can you still did that stay in your brain?
Yeah, but to a degree. I mean, I couldn't. I couldn't do every time. It's more just a joke. I did not expect to get called on that and breakdancing. It says I could breakdance, which I'm hilarious. How do you apply for a writing job? Steel Tacos wants a job. Everyone wants a job through Jesse. No, I can't do anything. My knees don't work anymore. Although I'm dressed like I could breakdance with the windbreaker. So your Trump experience.
Just real quick, I don't want to not be like, so if you just be funny on Twitter is a good way to do it. And I don't know if you do stand up, but also if you do stand up and people notice that you're a good writer, they will ask you to write stuff for them. And then that kind of gets you in the door. At least that's my experience. I don't know how to just straight up become a writer because that wasn't my intention necessarily, but that's my experience. So anyway. Sorry, I didn't want to just ignore that question. So go ahead, Ray. What are you going to?
Yeah. So your experiences with Donald Trump, you've worked with him twice. Once was his roast.
Yeah, the other time was with Joan Rivers. I don't remember this, but like it was like one of my first like kind of writing gigs, and I don't even know how I got it, but somebody called me. Joan Rivers used to do this show called How'd You Get So Rich? And do you remember Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, that show that Robin Leach used to host?
Robin Leach.
Right? Yeah, so that show, he would go around to old money people, like people who've been rich like for generations, and then he would just fillet them about how nice their hot air balloon was. You know, like it was like all like, you know, kind of fancy bullshit, and you know, they'd toast champagne in a hot tub together, that kind of thing. So Joan Rivers' version of that, called How'd You Get So Rich, she'd go to like new money people, like people who just became a millionaire for like usually from some goofy way. And she'd go and like make fun of them. You know what I mean? So it was like kind of taking them down. It was like, you know, it was a more irreverent version of that. So like we went to the guy who started the Hawaiian Tropic Brands house. Like he had this like real tacky, like he basically like lived in a strip club. You know what I mean? There were like, really, like he had like sculptures. You can look him up online. He had like sculptures.
You say that from a guy who's got taxidermy all over his house.
Yeah, well, this is classy. You know what I mean? This is like, looks like I live in a museum. It looks like I live in a museum. It's different.
You're like Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, exactly. But so like he had like sculptures of like naked women, but not like tasteful, like as though they were like neoclassical sculpture. They were like mud flap girl, like that kind of like, you know, like a, you know, like it's shit you'd find at Spencer Gifts, but like 10 feet tall. You know what I mean? So so she would go to his house and make fun of him, and then she would go to various like, and so Donald Trump was one of them, and we went to Donald Trump's to Trump Tower to make fun of him or whatever. And so like I had to like stand off camera and just like write stuff to show Joan that she might do or might not do. And then they wanted to do this segment. It was like, I think it was her idea to go like, let's have like people on the street ask Donald Trump for life advice and or like career advice or something. And so they like asked me to do it because it was like, well, let's just get the comedian to go ask Donald Trump a question. Like, so I like stood there in the lobby of Trump Tower, and he was like, what's your question or whatever. This is like in like 2012 or something like that. And I go, hey, Mr. Trump, I'm about to marry my first wife. Do you have any advice? Right. Which I thought was like kind of funny.
Yeah.
And he like couldn't have not gotten it any harder. Like he
implying he's been married a few times. Like, all right, how do I get the first one out of the way?
Exactly. It was like, you know, whatever, a little funny.
By the way, it turns out that was true, by the way.
Yeah, no, it ended up being, exactly. It did end up being true.
You are in one.
Yeah, I do. Well, this is my last wife, this one. So we're staying together. But like he fucking like a dolt just sat there to my face and explained like, well, you don't call her a first wife till you've had 2 wives. Like as though I didn't know that. You know what I mean? It was just like, what a fucking dumb asshole you are. You know, and it was just like, yeah, I know. I was trying to be cute about this. He just
did you get it back to him and be like, thank you for explaining the joke? Like,
yeah. I don't remember exactly what I said. I'd love to see if that exists somewhere, but they might be caught it. I don't know. But and then his roasts, yeah, like he was just such a pain in the ass because I've written for all the roasts and like they all go the same way except his because he was such a difficult asshole about it. And like so his main thing was like everybody who's it's their roast gets to say they get like a couple like don't make fun of this thing, you know what I mean? And it's usually reasonable. Like people usually go like, don't make fun of my kids, and it's like, yeah, okay, fine, or whatever, you know, or don't bring up my dead mom or something like that, something very normal and reasonable. Donald Trump's thing was, you cannot say I'm not as rich as I am, right? Like nobody can make jokes that I'm not that rich, which is crazy. And
it's
so
like that's the number one target. That's like no one make fun of the fact that I have 2 noses. Don't mention that.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
It's like,
well,
dude,
and the other one was don't
you're
make
known
fun
as
of
a guy
my
with
hair.
2 noses. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, that's the other one was don't make fun of my hair, which is fucking crazy. Like, yes, like that's like having 2 noses. Like your hair is insane. So anyway, so we would write a joke like this is an example, like, and I forget what it was, but it was like something like, what's the difference between Donald Trump's head and a wet raccoon? A wet raccoon doesn't have $3 billion, you know, or whatever, something like that. Right. He crossed out 3 and put 7. You know what I mean? Like he would jack up the numbers in his script because he was so insecure. And like there was some joke at the end about how he's like Earth's slumlord, right? That was the premise. Like this is Donald Trump is supposed to deliver this joke. And it was like how he's caused, you know, bed bugs and scabies and herpes and whatever else, but it's not his problem because he doesn't even live here. Like he lives in this space station that orbits the Earth, and it's this glittering 150,000 square foot marble penthouse space station. And he starts like selling people on how great the space station is, right? That was just in his tone. He crossed out 150,000 and put 300,000. Like he needed people to think that his fictitious space station was
his non-existent,
like, his joke space station that we invented for this joke. He like wanted it to be larger. It was just what a fucking crazy asshole. So, and then we wrote some joke for him, and he didn't want to do it, but we were like, trust, it's gonna work. And then he tanked it on purpose at the roast because he didn't want to do it. And he goes, "See, I told these." This literally said this in a microphone in front of 5,000 people. He goes, "See, I told these writers that joke was not gonna work, and I was right." And I don't know why these writers, like, he just like literally threw us under the butt. Like he fucking tanked that joke on purpose. Like I watched him undersell it. And then it was like, and by the way, we wrote every fucking joke, asshole. You know what I mean? Like how come you don't go like, oh, these writers really nailed it with that last joke that I got to laugh on. You know what I mean? So
anyway. He's just a douche to everybody?
Yeah,
pretty much?
Just everybody. Just absolutely everybody. So.
Yeah, that's like these big like, Trump supporters like don't understand. Like if he hung out with you,
if you got to meet them, yeah, exactly.
He'd want nothing to do with you.
Oh
Like,
yeah. He does not like or respect you. Yeah. So anyway,
Jesse, is Ray on the wrong end of a BJ? I don't know what that was in, but
not sure
I
what that
will.
means either.
Yeah, but thank you, Jarhead. As a fellow gay man, I respect the pointer ring. Oh,
Oh,
I
this
guess you're
thing, is that what
wearing.
you're saying?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, this is one of those aura rings. You know what these are? They like
Jesus, what do you have? Crystals too? What are you doing, Jesse? Come
no.
on.
That's just a brand name. No, it's not anything like it weird and like it's not like crystal store bullshit. But it's just it's like a Fitbit, but for your and then it
A
like tracks
Fitbit
your
for your
sleep.
finger
Yeah, it tracks your sleep and it like
on your ring. That
yeah.
little stupid ring. It tracks
Yeah,
all
you
your
charge it
shit.
up and it like regulates your body temp. It tells you if your body temperature is getting high or whatever. It tells you if you're gonna get sick. It does a bunch of cool stuff. So it's like a step counter. You know what I mean? And
On
and
your
then it
ring.
does this like and it does this like nanny thing where it'll go like maybe it's time you should go to bed. You know what I mean? Like if you're staying up too late, like your phone will give you.
How does it know that you're staying up?
It's just like a Fitbit. Like it's a very
I never had a
sophisticated version
Fitbit.
of
I
a
don't.
Fitbit. So it just tracks your rhythm. It knows when you're awake and when you're asleep, right? Because I don't know, your heart rate or something or your breathing rate or whatever. So anyway,
By the way, like
this was given to me as a gift and I didn't know if I was going to keep it or not. And then I went to the doctor, like after I was like, I'll try it out for a month. And my doctor saw it, was like, oh my God, you have one of those? That's amazing. And so like my doctor being so jazzed about me having this thing made me go like, well, this might have some useful information for him. You know, like, I don't know what
did
the
a
hell.
gift
I don't
from your doctor? It's like, don't bother me, just wear this.
Yeah.
Quit calling me, just wear this.
Yeah. No, but like now when I go to the doctor, I'll like show him the app. I'll go like, here, look, and he could like see how my heart rate has been over the last 6 months, kind of a thing, you know? So
It tells you maybe it's not working. Maybe it's like I have a tire gauge for my tire because I have a slow leak, and the tire gauge doesn't work. Like sometimes it'll say it's at 50, and I'm like, I see my tire. It's
they're very
flat.
temperamental. Tire gauges are. I've never had luck with tire gauges. I think maybe we're using them wrong, but
yeah,
but
I can see that there's missing air, and it's like it's saying it's at 50. I'm like, that's not. that's impossible.
50. That sounds high, by the way.
Exactly. I was exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying.
All right. Yeah.
It's supposed to be at 35, and it says it's at 35. It's like, no, I can clearly see. It's like a Nerf football. There's obviously air that needs to be in there.
50, you're driving around in a Macy's Day parade balloon. That's way too much air.
Just trying to.
Big Snoopy. Dragon. Yeah. Anyway, it's nice to be with you, Ray.
Good being with you too, man. All right, what else I want to? So, tell me, you got a book. Your book.
Oh,
now
yeah.
That you're, the guy who shot the guy who shot the guy.
It's a very clunky title.
And by the way, I heard you on Keith and the Girl saying Ray considers himself a history buff.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ. You want to name all the presidents? I can name all the presidents with you.
I know that you can memorize facts, or you can memorize.
Yeah, that's what history is knowing facts. That's all history is knowing facts.
I don't mean facts. I mean, like, you can, like, memorize a list. I know you're good at that. I bet you could do every state capital,
I can tell you.
That doesn't mean you're good at geography.
I can tell you a little. I didn't say geography, but I can tell you a little something.
Okay.
About all the presidents. I can tell you a little something about all of them. Like,
okay.
Jesus, Jesse. How many died in office that were not shot?
FDR, Benjamin Harrison.
You got 2 more to go.
They were not shot.
One guy got the flu when he was given his victory speech.
Like Polk. It was like Polk, or one of them got like maybe food poisoning or something. It was like
pneumonia, given his victory speech.
Yeah, that was Harrison.
William Henry Harrison, yeah.
Oh, not Benjamin
Harrison.
Who's
the other
William
one?
Henry Harrison. Okay.
Who's the other one that died in office?
I really did think it was like one of those. It was like one of those guys
around. Harding died in office.
Warren G. Harding. Oh, right. You're right. Yeah. He was like on a train or whatever. Yeah. So.
Right there, Jesse. And by the way, so the guy that shot the guy that shot Booth, the guy that shot Lincoln, which I think that's an interesting story. I did not hear you. That's the doctor that helped Booth is Mudd, and that's why they. I knew that. I didn't hear you say that. Is that in the book?
Yeah, I briefly mentioned that doctor, very briefly, but like,
My name, yeah. Then that's why they say my name is Mud, because he's the physician that he didn't know that Booth just shot President Lincoln, and he did know.
Yeah, I think that there is like that. So a lot. Something I learned from researching this book is like there's been a lot of things that were like kind of Confederate revisionist history, like after the Civil War, and a lot of it happened like
I think that's all history. All history is like kind of like you look back at it. Andrew Jackson was kind of an asshole.
Oh sure, yeah. Who, by the way, John Wilkes Booth's dad wrote a letter threatening to kill him, Andrew Jackson. So there's like a historical precedent in that family for like threatening to kill the president.
Oh Jesus! Was he Native American? Was he like Steven Seagal, just identified as a Native American?
No, he was a crazy. He was like super famous. His dad was a famous actor, right? So he like grew up a famous actor's kid, right? And his dad was just like a big, goofy, famous, like crazy celebrity guy. And he he read about some pirates that he thought were interesting, like actual pirates at sea, and they got arrested. It's in like the early 1800s. And
for just dressing like pirates. Like,
no, I guess
wait a minute, you're up to no good. I know pirate means you just steal stuff. I get it.
They had committed piracy and they got arrested by the United States government. And Junius Booth, that's John and Edwin's dad, wrote a letter he asked Andrew Johnson Andrew Jackson to pardon him. And
Old Hickory,
he wouldn't do it. So he wrote another letter saying, like, I will cut your fucking head off if you don't release these two pirates.
You can't do that to the president.
Yeah, I know. But I guess, yeah. So, but he did.
Can you pretend like it's not your writing? Like, how could they prove it back then? Like, it's not like that video. Like,
I bet he had a lot of signatures around. You can probably do. But anyway, whatever. But it was like the 1800s. Like, nobody did shit about shit. You know what I mean? It was just like, well, whatever. What a crazy old man. You know what I mean? Like, that was kind of how it got chalked up to. But anyway, sorry, Ray. I didn't mean to insult you. I know there were like many jokes back in the day that you would consult me on that I was like, oh, I don't think you're gonna do justice to this particular historical reference. The one example I used on Keith and the Girl was saying that I remember that I came out in the living room and you looked up from your notebook and said, "Hey man, where do they burn witches?" Like present tense. Like you wanted to know where do they burn
trying
witches?
To say like the Salem witch trials or something?
Yes, but you
which
didn't
I don't know.
have
I don't even remember having a joke about.
Well, I dissuaded you from doing that joke. I was like, whatever this joke is, you were not qualified.
Well, that joke was going to bomb anyways. So, I can't how I can make that.
And then you used to have a joke where you would say it was something about I liked the joke. The concept of the joke was good. It was back in the Napster days, right? Like and it was something to the effect of how the definition of piracy has changed so drastically, and that what a pirate used to be, and then the punchline was now a pirate is like something like a 9-year-old girl stealing a Jennifer Lopez CD or something like that, right? Was the gist of the joke. But in it, you said, what are pirates anyway? And you said pirates were scurvy, menacing tyrants. Like, I don't remember physically stealing people's treasure. I remembered it because I thought it was such a awkward turn of phrase that was from somebody like from a history expert. So you claim, hey, scurvy is a disease. Right. You don't call it like it's
I just assume anyone with scurvy is automatically a pirate. Where did you steal that scurvy?
Scurvy tyrant. That doesn't make sense because scurvy is a disease. It's like calling somebody a measles tyrant. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work. And then you said
fucking pneumonia piece of shit.
And then you said physically stealing people's treasure. Like, as opposed to what? Like emotionally stealing their treasure or intellectually stealing their treasure? Physically.
Leave me alone, man. All right. Jesus.
I'm just saying that it struck. I'm flattered that you asked me to be on your podcast. I genuinely am. And I thought it was very cool that you were like, hey, I'd love to help you plug your book. I was like, oh, my old friend Ray, how nice of him. What a cool gesture. But then you included the detail like, and I'm excited about your book because I'm a big fan of history. And I was like, since when, right? Like, that was the point that I was like, so I was just giving you grief about. That's all.
Well, I only kind of know American history. Yeah, I only kind of know American history. I'll be honest. I don't know. Come on, those are like, Yeah, I think like I'm Slovak, but like where my great grandfather was, like it was Slovenia, then it was
What?
Yugoslavia for a while. Now it's something else. On my mom's side, not my dad's side. On my
Wait, okay, but
mom's side,
Slovakia and Slovenia are different countries. So which is
or
which? Which
Yugoslavia, whatever. Like it's changed
oh,
names
Yugoslav. Okay,
a bunch of times.
all right.
Like once it was
You
part
know,
of Yugoslavia. Now it's so. I
my
just say I'm
brother,
Slavic or whatever.
my brother and I just went to my brother and I just went to Slovakia like about a month and a half ago
Okay.
because that's where my grandma's from. And so we took like a road. My brother lives in Germany. You know my brother, Matt.
Yeah.
So
Matt.
there's something, my computer keeps giving me a note and I got to deal with something. My brother lives in Germany. And so I went and visited him. And then we took a road trip and we drove to Slovakia. And I don't know if you remember how my brother is like a language expert, right? Like he's just really naturally very, like he speaks Mandarin Chinese and he's
Yeah, is it his wife Mandarin?
no, she's German. So, but
German,
he's fluent in German. He speaks like Dutch and whatever. He speaks all kinds of. And so for our trip, he just like picked up Slovak. He just like learned it to like. He just spent a couple weeks studying so he could like talk to people on our trip, which I was like pretty astounded by. But so we go to like real rural Slovakia, like way eastern, which is where she's from, this tiny little village. And there's like a castle there, and we were like going to go check out the castle because it's like probably this is the castle that like some shithead oppressed my great like my great grandfather probably had to drag a bushel of potatoes up this fucking hill to give to this guy or something because it was like a feudal whatever. So anyway, so we're walking up this hill and we run into this like old Slovak guy just standing like in the woods, right? He just like is hanging out in the woods and he starts talking to us. And fortunately my brother speaks Slovak, so he like starts talking back to him. And the guy's, I don't speak a word of it, but I get the sense that it's like, oh, okay, he's asking like, what are you guys doing here? And he says Ameriski or whatever. And so it's like, oh, okay, he's saying we're from America. He points to me. Oh, he's saying that like this is my brother. And then he says the word for grandma, which I know because my grandma was Slovak and she lives with us. He says Baba. So he's like, oh, now he's explaining to the guy, our grandmother is from this town, that kind of thing. That's so I'm just standing off to the side, but I'm picking up the comment. And then the guy asks something that from just context, I'm gathering is like, oh, so does your grandma still live here? Like in this village? Right. And my brother is trying to explain to him like, no, she died a long time. But he realizes in that moment, like, oh, I guess I never learned the word for died. Because why would you? Like, if you're just going to go, if you
just going around threatening people, blah, 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 to you. That's what I'm saying.
You just need like tourist Slovak. And with like the concept of death doesn't usually come up in tourism. So he didn't learn the word for death. So he's talking.
I have a dead body. Like, where can I bury it?
So he's talking to this old man, and he just goes, yeah, better get shit. She there, like that. That's what he does because he doesn't know the word for it. Yeah. And the guy like, oh, like that. And he left. He after they like thanks and I'm like, he like went back to his wife.
Like, this guy just said he killed his grandma.
Yeah. And it was like this guy was like, I met these two Americans just in the woods, and their grandmother is from this village. She was strangled to death. Like her eyes pop out, her tongue fall out. Like anyway, it was just I thought it was great. So anyway. But
Jimmy, I'm gonna let me read a couple of these. Jimmy Jesse, some of my favorite not well-known comics are Stevie Lou, Chad Zumock, and sometimes Ray, except for the racist jokes. Can you name some of yours?
Some of my favorite comedians. Let me see. So Greg Giraldo is my number one. Always is my favorite comic. Jon Stewart back in the day, like when he did stand-up, like I used to love John's stand-up. Norm Macdonald. If you want me to say like lesser known,
no, he's more making a joke. It's more like taking shots at Stevie Lou and Chad.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
That's all that way. He's just making a joke. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Jesse wants to skip the below questions. That's from something referencing earlier. Tyranny. Show Jesse. He knows I have an MBA.
I know it bothers me that Ray on paper is more well educated than I am. History, who
Dr. Child of
cares?
Megzy. History. Who cares? Let's talk about Chanda's Rack.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know. It's
I don't
talking
know who that is.
about. But yeah, man, I listened to that thing. I did not know that Mad Hatter is like a real thing. You said that.
Yeah,
'Cause,
isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the book basically, if you want, but the title is called "Killing the Guys Who Killed the Guy Who Killed Lincoln," a nutty story about Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett, and it's available on Scribd. That's where you can get it. Scribd is like a service that's like the Netflix of books, right? So you get a monthly subscription, and then you have access to all of their books, and they do original books too. And so like Stephen King has written original books, and Margaret Atwood, like people like that, and then they like give deals to like kind of no name people like me. So they give me a book deal. So this book is and by the way, I'll give everybody a 2-month free subscription if they are interested.
What do they?
Link to put things.
What is the link? I'll put it up on screen.
Yeah, it's just try.scribd.com. Try.scribd, and Scribd is spelled SCRIBD. So it's try.scribd.com, SCRIBD. Yeah. Try.scribd.com/Jesse Joyce. No I in Jesse. So
I know how to spell your name, buddy.
Yeah. But I saw some people in the comments added an I. There it is. No. Yeah, that's 2 B's.
There's 2 B's.
Try.scribd. SCRIBD. Sorry, that's like that thing where we needed to use the D for Delta, you know? So SCRIBD. Anyway,
but
this is probably interesting for the listener to
hear
us spell a URL for 3 minutes. Anyway, it's the last. Yay, that's it. Try.scribd.com/Jesse. You click on that link, you get 60 free days to listen to my book or read it. It's an ebook too, for totally free, and then you can cancel, and then you don't have to pay anything. But or you can just check out the rest of the library.
All right, so they're going to want to hear some. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to get it. So the book is about the 2 guys on either side of John Wilkes Booth. It's about his brother Edwin, who was a way more famous actor, like way more famous than John Wilkes Booth was not a famous actor. So like when John Wilkes Booth killed the president, the next day people were like, "Did you hear Edwin Booth's brother killed the president?" That was the conversation. Like Edwin Booth was the most famous guy in America. So it was, like Brad Pitt's brother or whatever. Like the example I use is like one of the other Hemsworths.
Tom Hanks' brother killed the president?
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, and then nobody remembers him anymore because his brother killed the president. He's like a fascinating goofball and was an alcoholic and, was like really insecure about the fact, like, and just like really, just like haunted his whole life about what his brother did. It's interesting. He's an interesting, funny guy. And then the other guy is Boston Corbett, who is a guy who was he was a hat maker, and he literally went crazy because all people who made hats back then went crazy. And we'll go back to that because I want to talk about the Mad Hatting thing. So, but anyway, so he became a Mad Hatter, and then he cut his balls off with a pair of scissors. And then he joined the Union Army, and then he joined the hunt for John Wilkes Booth. He's the first guy to volunteer, chased him for 12 days to a barn and put a bullet in his head and killed John Wilkes Booth. So he's the guy. So then he becomes an overnight hero celebrity in America because he killed John Wilkes Booth. They used to make a baseball card of Boston Corbett that was passed around. Like everybody wanted to have a Boston Corbett card and whatever. Like he was a huge, and nobody remembers him anymore either. So, but getting back to the hatting thing, which I think is interesting. So back then in the 1800, everybody wore a hat all the time back then. And the way that they used to make hats like out of felt, which is like animal fur, and they would crush it up and they would steam the hats in their own piss, right? Like the hatter would, the guy who made hats. So like if you see a picture of like anybody wearing a hat from the 1850s, it's steamed in human piss, right? So
really? That's human piss?
Yeah. That's how they would like get the felt to stick together, was with piss.
Dude, I just imagine everyone had to smell back then. Like I see like old school baseball games where they all wore suits and hats. I'm like, it's July 4th. Yeah. And they're all like dressed up like
a 3-piece suit. Yeah, like made of wool. Yeah,
kind of like the Orthodox Jews in Brooklyn that are like they always wear the jackets and the hats. And it's like, what are you doing? It's August 1st. It's hot. Like you got to be sweating.
So they used to, like I said, steam hats in piss. And what people noticed was the hat makers who had syphilis made better hats. And then for real, and they figured out the reason why is because the way to treat syphilis back then was doses of liquid mercury, right? Like the shit in the thermometer, right? Which is super toxic. But so people would take doses of liquid mercury because they didn't know any better back then. And there was something about the steaming a hat with piss filled with mercury that made the hats better. And they realized then that it had nothing to do with the piss, really, that mercury was a much better substance to steam hats with. So then they started just steaming hats in liquid mercury. So what that meant is every guy who made hats would sit in a closed room all day long and just breathe in hot liquid mercury vapor, right? All day long. And that made them absolutely crazy. So like it was, and it took like 20 years for people to make that connection. Like Lewis Carroll, the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland, is one of the first guys to like kind of point that out and make a joke about it, is that like everybody who makes hats is fucking crazy. And so that's where the term Mad Hatter came from. And so that's what happened to this guy, Boston Corbett. And then he became like a religious zealot and a goofball. And he was on the street preaching to people, and some prostitutes came up to him and he got really horny and he got upset about it. So he went back to his apartment to read that part of the Bible about how like if your eye offends you, you should cut it out, or if your hand is causing you to stray from God, you should cut it off or whatever. So he like grabbed scissors and cut off his own balls.
Yeah.
And what's even weirder is he didn't even go to the hospital. Like he just like went about his day. He went and got dinner and then like went to church. And at church, people were like, "Hey, your dick is bleeding. You should probably go to the hospital." And so there he went. He spent like a month in the hospital, almost died. And then he was just like, whatever. He just had no balls. So
that's weird as fuck. Like when you think about it, like back in those days, if something's wrong, they just cut off your body part. Like my foot's sore. I guess you don't have a foot anymore. It's like
yeah.
Like that was like their go-to for. I was like, can we get a second opinion?
Yeah.
Do you have a cast around here? Can we start with that?
Something off. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was like I don't want to be horny anymore. And so he cut off his balls, which is a pretty crazy thing to do. Especially, I point out in the book, because one of the other things that mercury poisoning does is it makes you very shaky, right? So like trying to cut your balls off when your hands are like this is also a very hard thing to do. So anyway,
but he did it.
But yeah, he did. He did do it. And then he just went totally crazy. And then he's the guy who killed John Wilkes Booth. And then fascinatingly, I think this is fascinating too. The conspiracy theory started a couple years later after Booth was killed, that the South started saying that John Wilkes Booth wasn't actually dead, and that Boston Corbett had killed the wrong guy. And he would get really mad about it. He'd like pull guns on anybody who said that about him. But then because he was so mercury poisoned, because he was like,
and then you would add another book. I killed the guy who killed the guy who said he didn't kill the guy. These go on and on. It's a lot of books.
So he then, because he was so mercury poisoned, was like, I don't know, maybe they have a point. Like that John Wilkes Booth was like, he was like going around the country making a living retelling the story about how he killed John Wilkes Booth. And then suddenly he was like, oh no, what if John Wilkes Booth isn't dead and he's mad at me for killing him? Right? That's like so he gets a death threat from John Wilkes Booth. It's like, I'm coming to get you. The only reason John Wilkes Booth.
Where is everyone getting everyone's address to just send them letters? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how they. Like and it got there, and somehow the letters managed to get into them. Like, this is clearly for you. I mean, this guy wrote this in South Dakota. Like, they made it all the way to Tennessee, but it found its place.
Well, it was probably
I'd be writing fake letters all the time saying, this is from anyone I don't like. And be like, here, this is from him. He says you're a dead man. It's like, I got to go get him. It's like, it just seems like a very loose thing to just like people take all these letters as gospel. Like, this has got to be true. It can't possibly.
Of course it's not true. John Wilkes Booth had been dead for 12 years. So somebody trolling him, but he believed it. He gets the letter and he's like, oh my God, John Wilkes Booth is so mad that I killed him that he's coming to get me. And so he like just runs. He flees. He lived in New Jersey at the time. And he ran to Kansas and just dug a giant hole in the ground and then like lived there in the hole, like with guns pointed at the hole, like waiting for John Wilkes Booth to show up, like for years. Like that's how he lived. So anyway, he's a fascinating weirdo. So, but that's what the book is about.
So check out the book.
Killing the guys who killed the guy who killed Lincoln.
David Skywalker, reality show pitch. Billy Madison, S1, Ray DeVito. Season one, Ray DeVito. Jarhead, KB, Bang Kimball's ex. I don't know what that's.
I don't know what that means.
But yeah, people want to hear like so. Us being roommates, man. And do you have any roommate stories that I might not remember? Anything memorable?
You know what's pretty memorable to me, and I'm sure that you remember this too, was how we thought it was going to be such a career-making opportunity to be on that reality show. That How Clean Is Your House?
How clean
Remember
is
that?
your house? Yeah. Did you
And
see what
so,
happened to that one lady?
no,
Oh
I
no,
haven't
go ahead and
followed up on any of this. Do
yeah.
your listeners know all about that? About How Clean
No,
Is Your
no, they
House?
know nothing about this. You can go ahead and
So there used
fill
to
them
be
in,
this
man.
reality show on BBC America called How Clean Is Your House, and I don't even know how they got hooked up with us, but they liked the idea of doing an episode about three like roommate comedians that lived together, and it was these two like brassy British ladies who would come over. It was kind of like a precursor to that Marie Kondo thing, where they would come to your house and they would clean up your house and like yell at you for being so filthy. So and then they would like kind of do a makeover on your apartment or whatever. So we were like, hell yeah, like let's do that. We would get us TV exposure, and we thought at the time what a big deal this is going to be. They needed to shoot us doing stand up, and so like they booked us at a comedy club, which is like how I ended up getting in at Gotham. Like was that like, oh yeah, maybe we can like, so they taped us doing stand up, and it was like our first like TV taping kind of a thing, And so so we went and filmed that, and then they were going to come to our house and clean up our house, but a producer came by earlier and saw how we lived and was like, yeah, this is not going to cut it. Like, this is not filthy enough. Like, it was plenty filthy. Like, we were guys in our 20s who, it was really a dirty apartment. But they're like, no. Like, this needs to be, like, hoarder level shit. So, like, they gave us, like, 3 weeks to just, like, absolutely fuck up our apartment. And so we were doing shit like, we'd order a pizza and eat half of it and then just, like, flip it over on the floor. You know what I mean? And we, like, didn't take the garbage out for, like, 3 weeks. And whatever, like, it just became like a festering, dangerous, like third world level shithole. And then they came over and they then like yelled at us about how filthy we were. And it was like, well, yeah, but this is all like fake for TV. So anyway, but
that lady, one of the ladies got in trouble for like, turns out she was like, which I didn't see it, but turns out she was like bullying people on her staff and everything. She got in trouble.
Oh.
Like
the big one or the little one?
Yeah, the big one.
Oh, okay.
You could see it?
Yeah.
Oh, you could see
I'm
it?
not looking at it. But I can picture the two of them. Yeah, and there was like one kind of like great big chubby one, and then there was like a little teeny one. So it was that one. Yeah. So anyway.
So Jimmy darkened his face on a bio. I don't think that has anything to do with Jesse. Jesse wouldn't know about. It's like, hey, why did Jimmy Kimmel do this on the Man Show, episode 2, season 2? It's like I wouldn't know that.
So, but then, do you remember this detail that then they didn't actually clean our house? That all they did is just move shit into my room.
Yeah, they didn't clean the house at all. All they did is like take everything and moved it into the other room. And then they're like, all right, we'll see you later. Goodbye. It's like,
because I was going to go on the road for like 3 weeks. So it was just like, oh, we'll just dump everything in Jesse's room and then just not show it. And so then they like do the big reveal and it's like, wow, new throw pillows on the couch or whatever the fuck. And then they're like, all right, see you later. Enjoy your new place. And then they left. And then like my room was like so full of like filthy dishes and shit. Like just, it was disgusting. Like I couldn't even open the door. And then I was like, well, I got to leave in the morning. So I just like, I don't know, we'll deal with this later. So I go on the road for like 3 weeks and I come back and they had thrown a bunch of shit in like a big moving box. And I opened the moving box and that's where like my pile of clothes that were just in the living room, they just tossed them in that box. So they didn't like do anything with my clothes. They just threw them in a box. I lifted this pile of clothes out and a like biblical plague of flies comes like pouring out of the box. Like in the Mummy, when the mummy opens his mouth and just like, it was like that many flies just come shooting out of this box. I was like, yeah, what the fuck? And it was, they just had left a whole bag of potatoes. Like,
they didn't really clean. It was all just, it was just for show.
And then put my clothes on top of it. And so like they had just liquefied and were just like now breeding maggots in my fucking room. So it was like, our place was way filthier after we did the show. So anyway, That's it's
But
fraudulent.
like back to our apartment, like our landlord was great. I did not know this. So like when we were there, we were all three of us were on the lease. Well, after everybody left, I was the only one on the lease. So
Mhm.
every time anyone would move in, I would just like a dummy, I would just divide the rent up. You pay a third, you pay a third, you pay a third.
Yeah.
So we had this one roommate, Eugene, who is buddies with Tim, that would like hang out at Snowdonia, the bar
So this is
downstairs.
after I left, right?
Yeah, so you're gone.
Yeah.
So our landlord was so trusting. I would just have everyone would put the rent in an envelope and we just leave the rent on the door. We just leave the rent on the door.
Yeah, just
Um,
like tape it to the front door. Yeah.
yeah, and then our landlord would come get the rent. So 3 months go by. It took till month number 3 before our landlord came to me and was like, "Hey, just to let you know, I've only gotten 2/3 of the rent." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And there was this one guy, Eugene, who he ended up dying later of a drug overdose. Spoiler alert,
Wow.
but
Huh.
yeah, no, the guy was a pretty. I mean, it's a shame anyone said, but he was a complete asshole. But
Seemed like you had his shit together. Sure.
so I was like, who's not giving you the rent? And then he told me this guy Eugene. So I go down to Snowdonia to go see the guy because I know he's there because that's all he did is like hang out there and drink all night. And
Oh,
I go,
that
hey,
bar that was on the corner.
yeah, yeah. And I go,
Yeah.
hey man, you haven't paid rent in 3 months? And he goes, hey, come outside. And we go outside and he goes, hey man, why do you got to come in here and blow up my spot? I never wanted to kill anybody more, but at the same time, I'm on the hook for his money. So I'm like trying to be nice because I need that money because I'm the only one on the lease. So I was like, he ended up not.
By the way, did you just confess to wanting to kill a guy who you just mentioned is now dead?
Yeah.
Okay.
He
All right.
tried to
So,
like when I heard that it was sad, but at the same time, I'm like, that guy was a piece of shit.
okay.
No remorse for anything. So I have to kick him out. I have to kick
Mhm.
him out. But here's the thing: he's got a key, so he would just come back every night in the middle of the night and crash on. Like we got a new roommate. He would just come in the middle of the night, open the door, and like fall asleep on the floor. And I was like, what the fuck? So I had to change the locks. I had to change the lock. But it was our landlord that came and was like, hey man, you're the only person that's ever lived here that's been the person on the lease where the other people don't pay more rent. You're the only one in New York City that does that. He goes, that's
Uh-huh.
why you purposely charge them like an extra in case something like this happens. Because I had to pay that out of my own pocket. I had to pay 3 months of his rent. And but I didn't know that that's what you do. That you're the one on the lease, so like everyone else pays an extra $50. So if you get stuck,
Yeah.
it's not on you. I didn't know that. My landlord had to explain that to me that I'm an idiot for doing that. But
What a
that
nice guy.
dude, so I had to kick that dude out. And then the guy that I got in there was a comic. I mean, I've talked about this. You don't know this. Who would always hang out at the creek in the cave. And he was turns out he was a Legion of Skanks fan. I thought he was an open mic comic because I always see there was a nice guy. Turns out he had schizophrenia because he would he would. I'm just telling people have already heard this story. I'm telling it to you because you were gone from the apartment this time. So I didn't know he had schizophrenia, but he would he was a big dude too, and he bought an air mattress. He bought an air mattress. So he's I thought he was like in the like arguing on the cell phone at night. I thought he'd go in his room and just argue on the cell phone. I didn't realize it till he was sleeping on the air mattress. He's a big dude. It popped. It popped. So he would just go sleep in the living room. And I would come home and he'd be in the living room and he'd just be yelling at himself. He'd just be like yelling at himself. And I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. And then Tim had his room right there. He's like, yeah, this guy just walks around yelling at himself. I was
Oh
like,
man.
I'm like, this is gonna be
Oh,
a
wow.
problem. So
Yeah.
I said, hey man,
Yikes.
if it's cool, can you sleep in your bedroom? So he goes out and buys the exact same air mattress.
Uh-huh.
Night 2, it fucking pops. So he's back sleeping in the living room. And I never realized like he was having these episodes. Also, I thought he was a comic. So I was doing a Roger Paul gig. I was headlining. Sheba Mason was featuring, and Roger Paul's like, "Hey, do you know a comic that wants to host? Like, yeah, it's just $50. It's like just an hour up the road." I was like, "Yeah, I got my roommate." It was atrocious. It was like I had no idea what was going on. It's just you just heard a room full of people having a good time. Just you just saying all this weird shit. I'm immediately lighting. I'm like, all right, gotta get him off. Gotta get him off. But
so you just assumed he was a comedian, but he wasn't?
he wasn't. He was just a super fan of Legion.
Like, was one of his personalities a comedian or no?
No, he was a super nice guy. I never had an issue. It was nice, but the last time I saw him was I met him at Starbucks. I was at Starbucks, the one in Astoria, right by us, and he's like all distraught. I'm like, what happened? He's like, hey man, this guy so and so from Virginia Beach. He's been he just shows up here and he's been threatening me. I'm like, what he said? He's like, nothing. He just shows up and makes sure I see him and then he leaves. I'm like, I said, listen, dude. No one drove 9 hours up to Virginia Beach just to make eye contact with you, to send a message, and then fucking disappear. That's not happening. And then he got like mad at me, like for doubting him. And I never saw him get angry. And he got mad at me in a Starbucks. And that's the last time I saw him because he went to Virginia Beach to confront this guy, and he got arrested because he was threatening the guy on Facebook. And the guy's like, "Yeah, come meet me here." So he showed up to meet the guy, and it's nothing but cops. So he got arrested, and then so he's schizophrenic. His family like super nice, but then one night he killed his mom. He killed his mom when he was staying with his mom. He had an episode. He killed his mom. I didn't know. This is all like he's friends with Stanhope now. You know, Stanhope is he's out. He's out now. I haven't talked to him. I always got along good with the guy. I mean, but yeah. So
how is he out of jail now?
Because it's schizophrenic. He's like, I think he's like in a healthcare center or whatever. Okay. But he so the night that he did it, he called me up and he's like, hey, are you in New York City? I just happened to be on the road. I'm like, oh, it's like, oh, because I was going to see if I can get a place to sleep or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'm not around. And then the next morning, his sister called me and said, hey, if so-and-so contacts you, call the police because he killed her mom last night. And I was like, oh shit. So I told the police in Astoria, they could have cared less. All they did is take my driver's license. Like, well, why is he so interested in you? They're like running all my shit. They could have cared less. And I happened to see John Fish. I told him what happened. He goes, you should have said he was illegally parked in in front of your driveway. They would have came away. You know how they caught him? It was his mom's car. He went to Times Square and he was asleep in the car. And they saw that the car was missing. And then he was asleep and he had a warrant. He wasn't allowed to leave Virginia. So that's how they got him. But because I changed the lock because of my other roommate, because you know Tim and then my other roommate, they're both introverts. So the dude was on the door, like knocking, and they're both like, yeah, someone just keeps showing up here knocking on the door. And I'm like, did you let him in? Like, no, why would we, like, you know our apartment. If you heard someone knocking, you're assuming maybe it's a landlord, you open the door. Neither one of them fucking opened the door once.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, good. Just out of curiosity, you would have opened the door. They didn't know this whole thing. But that's like, how do you not open the door? How much of an introvert are you fuckers?
Well, it's good that they didn't. That's good.
It turns out it was good that they didn't. But if that one roommate never screwed me over on rent, then he would have got inside because he would have had the key. So if it wasn't for me changing the lock for that one dude, but yeah, man, there's some interesting shit that went through that apartment.
Shitty taste in roommates, right? That's the. So you were like, why does this keep happening to you? Oh,
no, he was we had other guys. Like one dude was getting married and he just crashed with us for a year. This guy Logan, and he was like, I don't know, he was a producer on Broadway, and so he had like a lot of money. So he like buy like nice things. He did a makeover of the apartment. It was fucking awesome. And then like he got married and left. And I'm like, you want this? I was like, no, just keep it. So like, yeah. So we had some cool people.
Okay.
But, but that was just insane. Like the only reason, how can someone just bang on the door and you never answer it? Do you understand how insane that is?
That's I mean,
it turns out it was good.
You're wrong, right? They're right. Like you're. Yeah, I mean, wasn't there a thing you could like look and see too? I think there was. There was a little.
Yeah, they wouldn't even like look. I'm like, maybe it's a package.
How would they get up there? There's a front door that you have to buzz in. You're saying they got into
No,
that?
no, he had that key because that key never
Yeah,
changed.
so right, it was the door right on the other side of the apartment. I don't understand why you think that's weird that they didn't just let a guy they didn't buzz in into the apartment.
Someone's knocking on the door. You think it's maybe the person downstairs or something. I just thought it was. You don't think it's weird that they didn't open the door once to see who it was?
It's weird that you've really latched on to this particular detail. Like I feel like you gave them grief for like not letting a murderer in. Like what's wrong?
It turns out it turns out it was a good thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I think you're wrong in this story, Ray. So
yeah, I don't know, man. That's I just thought that was interesting. How do you not open the door just once, just out of curiosity? Be like, someone keeps knocking on the door. At least be like, stop knocking on the door. But no.
Okay. Well,
if someone's ringing your doorbell, you're not going to go check it out once. I'm not mad at them for doing. I just thought it was weird that they didn't. Turns out it was a good thing they didn't open the door.
Yeah, yeah. So it's weird that you like still like you. It's like an afterthought that you include that detail. That it's like, but they were right, like because yeah. So let it go. Like I don't understand why you like. I would check. We've like a ring cam. Like I would check who, you know what I mean? If somebody kept, and if they kept compulsively doing it, I would go, this seems like.
Yeah. Then again, I don't know how hard they were knocking.
This is an Amazon behavior, Like, so,
yeah. They really want to deliver this package. Come on.
Really desperate to get this package to me at 2 a.m. So.
Yeah. So I just
muttering.
I thought that was crazy, but yeah, those were the only two roommates that were like, had any issues. Was the one that's
those are pretty significant issues though.
Yeah, but everyone else was all right, but the one that had schizophrenia,
like a guy who leaves toothpaste in the sink, like like you're pretty drastic.
You got to pick your battles on who to complain about.
Yeah, these are pretty significant. So
what do you miss about Astoria? If you
actually, the number one thing I miss about Astoria, and I just think this is like silly. I mean, because I loved Astoria, but the number one thing I miss was there was that restaurant on Steinway that served burgers made out of unusual critters. So you could get like it wasn't Bear Burger was another one, but there was a different place, and you could get a burger made out of like
ostrich. It was like an ostrich
or camel, or wild boar or elk or whatever, like that kind of stuff. They had kangaroo meat. I don't know why until this second I've never questioned like whether or not that was true. Like
is there really that much of a market that we need some ostrich meat? We need kangaroo meat. It seems like there wouldn't be.
It could have been anything. I just took them at their word that they gave me a kangaroo burger. Is my point. I never really like checked the health code, sign on the door or anything. So I don't know, but I assume I've gone many years until right this second saying, "Oh yeah, I've eaten a kangaroo burger." It's possible it wasn't, but anyway, but I love that place. So,
get that one barbershop right around the corner from us? That guy, I'd always go there. He has all the mirrors, but all he would do is like check out women walking on the street, like all the mirrors. So be cutting your hair, and then like he'll stop to like just check out, like clearly just like, just.
I don't know if it's the same place. There was this like cold Soviet guy who cut hair. He was like a real unfriendly like Russian dude or whatever, and I never really bothered to talk to him because he seemed so unfriendly. And then the one time I did, we were sitting there, and it was at the beginning of the haircut, and I can't remember how it was like, but I was like, "Oh, are you going? Like, when was the last time you went back to Russia?" And he was like, "When my mother died." And it was like, oh, okay, like it was a real conversation killer. And it was just like, all right, I'm not gonna bother chatting with this guy.
Yeah.
I stopped going to him shortly after.
And then also, man, like you're sober now. How many years you've been sober?
18 years now.
18
How
years.
about that shit?
Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks, man.
But like out of all like the comics I've hung out with, I remember like we'd be leaving and you would get a whiskey and Coke to go and keep it in. Even I was like, why are you doing that? Like,
well, did you ever go to O'Reilly's with me, that bar over by the Empire State Building? I used to like that place.
I'm sure.
It's an Irish bar. I'm sure you went. And there was this bartender who like is the weirdest move. Like he never really like would really hook you up as much as you'd want. But I liked that bar because it like was kind of quiet and you could just go and talk. And nobody judged you for being an alcoholic there or whatever, because everybody was. But so I would go there anyway. But this guy like wouldn't really hook you up the way that a normal bartender would. But what he would do is when you're like, all right, John, it's time to settle up. Like, I'm gonna go. He would then give you like a rocks glass full of whiskey, like as you're leaving. So I would just chug that. It was like the one that would hit me 8 blocks later in the car. You know what I mean? It was like, what in the fuck are you? Like, it just seemed like, I'm an alcoholic. Like, what a bad idea. Like, I'm not taking personal responsibility, but it was like, it was a crazy. Did I ever tell you about the one time I would like often, I had like a couple groups of friends, like, like you being among them, that like I would go get drunk a lot of times with people in the city. And then I would come back and I would meet up with Astoria comedians and get drunk with them. And then I would go home and drink more. And for each of those parties, that was their night of drinking, Like,
you just did 3 parties. You did a triple header.
Exactly. But like, so I would like, drink these people till they were, I got to go home. And I'd be like, all right, well, I got to find more people to drink with. And then I go back to Astoria and then like, hey, you want to go out and get a drink? But I was already. And so then I would. So anyway, so that was like how I usually would do it. And then I would end the night. There was a bodega on our corner. Do you remember that place? Like, I would go and usually get like a 40 or something like that to like end the night. And I would just come back and like watch movies or whatever. Like, that was when I was really hammered. But so one night I was drunk and I drove back and it was a blizzard. Like, it was really shitty road conditions. And I pulled up to that bodega. I parked in front of a fire hydrant and I just ran in to go get the 40. And then somewhere in that time, while I was paying for it, I forgot that I drove because I used to walk to that bodega. And I just walked home because it was on our block. And I just went in and I finished that and I passed out. Then I got up at like noon or whatever. And I was just like walking to go get my laundry or something. And I walked past my car sitting still at the fire hydrant. And the windows were down and it was running. It was still running because I just run in to go get. It had been running for 11 hours and just sitting there. And the only reason that I didn't get it towed or a ticket was because it was a blizzard, and they weren't doing alternate side. They weren't checking the cars, and so I go over to my car and there is a pile of snow on my driver's seat like this high because it had just been snowing into the car for hours, and so anyway, so I was just like, oops, I shoveled all that off and So
dude, that's that's fucking insane, man.
Did you ever hear about the story the time that I reported my car stolen with those same Astoria police and it wasn't like
no, so but I've had that too where I've like forgot where I parked. I assumed I parked there, and I'm like, and then turns out, oh no, I parked somewhere else.
But did you actually call the police?
Well, you can call to see what got towed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, back then somehow when I called them because I remembered that it was parked there. I had then, I guess, at some point in my drunkenness the night before gone like, oh shit, I'm parked on the wrong side of the street. Went out and moved it to the correct side. And I was probably on the balcony because we had a balcony that looked over the street and looked down and saw there was a parking space on the correct side of the street and just ran down in a blackout and reparked my car. But so anyway, so the police showed up and I'm filling out the report like, oh yeah, my car got stolen. Like meanwhile, like I could have taken the pen I was filling out the report with and hit my car. It was there. It was just across the street because I had moved it but like I didn't remember moving it. So anyway. So then I had to like go undo a police report. Yeah. So
no, you can call 311 and ask if your car got towed.
Well, that's nice.
That
might be because of me.
The Jesse Joyce law.
Yeah.
Does Jesse use laundry? They give me. All right, you will defend me on this. As a road comic, like when you're driving around city to city.
I forgot about that. You used to carry everything in a laundry basket, right?
Yes.
No.
Why would you bring a suitcase? You would bring a suitcase if you're driving to fucking Louisville.
Yes, of course I would. Yeah, of course I'd
bring a suitcase. As opposed to a laundry basket.
People travel. Yeah, like fucking. I mean, it's a universally accepted way to travel to pack things in a suitcase, right? Like that's how everybody travels. Like, I've never seen anybody else carry their shit to Louisville in a laundry basket. That's odd. It's a very
You don't think
peculiar
that
thing.
just makes practical sense?
No, why? Because it can fall out or tumble around or get dirty, or there's a number of things that can happen. Like that. I
I'm
mean,
fine with the laundry basket. If I'm flying, yes, a suitcase. But if I'm driving, a laundry basket.
okay. I just
When you
I
would
don't
go to
understand.
college from Pittsburgh,
Sell me on the laundry basket. What is the why is that more convenient than a suitcase that has
because if
wheels
I want to do
that you
laundry on
could?
the road, I have a laundry basket with me. I'm not going to take my suitcase. I do a laundry basket.
Yeah, but there's those bags. They have like laundry bags that's would take up this much space in a suitcase.
Baskets got handles. I'm fine
Okay,
with I'm fine with the laundry basket.
sure.
I'm not like the only person that's
I think you are.
logical.
I've never seen anybody. I mean, I as soon as I saw that comment, I was like, oh yeah, I remember like your trunk always had a laundry basket in it. I remember that detail about you, but no, I've never seen anyone else do that.
I
In
remember Dan Allen pointing it out that he thought it was weird. I was on a date with a lady and I did my laundry during the date. I was just in between stops. So I picked up my laundry, threw it in the trunk while we were
yes, I
on our
remember
date.
that too.
It's like,
Yeah,
why not? It
you're a very unusual man, right?
just lay all your cards on the table.
You have a lot of picadillos.
All right.
You're a peculiar person. That is for sure.
All right. We're gonna wrap this up, man. Dude, thank you for joining me, man. It's great catching up.
It's been a pleasure catching up with you, my friend. So it's really nice to see you. So
Good hang with you. Plug all your stuff. Where can people find you?
yeah, so just Twitter, Jesse Joyce, JESSEJOYCE, Instagram, Jesse Joyce 1, and then there's information about the book on both of those. But the book is new. It's on Scribd, SCRIBD. You can get it right now, free for 60 days. Try.scribd.com/Jesse Joyce. It's called Killing the Guys Who Killed Lincoln, a nutty story about Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett. And it's funny, and it's historically mostly accurate, and it's a good time. So, and I'm on strike, so I can't do anything else. So,
are you gonna write another book?
yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I would do it. It was a fun process. I was like really intimidated about it the first time, or like when I started, but it ended up being a ton of fun to actually do the writing of it. The audiobook is what I thought would be the easy part, and that ended up being like drudgery. Like, you would be surprised how, I mean, you're an extremely well-educated man on paper. You would be shocked if you had to read an audiobook how virtually illiterate you are. like I mean, I'm the author of a book. I'm reading my own book, and I kept fucking it up. Like every 3 sentences, you have to go back because you missed a word or you did something wrong. And like, it is a very grueling process to record an audiobook. But
so you'd say it's easier to act, like say lines acting, than it would be to
because
read your own.
because I mean, like, because with acting, you do have like a degree of personal wiggle room, like ownership of the character or whatever. You can kind of fudge a word here and there, like it doesn't have to be, unless the direct, like they say like, no, it has to be that. But for the most part, like, you can't kind of, whatever, you can talk the way you think it would sound. But with an audiobook, you must read exactly what is written in exactly that. And so quite like all the time they would like stop, and then the director of the audiobook would be like, you got to go back and do that again. There were like fact checkers, 2 of them listening in to make sure I didn't fuck stuff up. Constantly I was fucking stuff up. So
are they like competing? Like one person's like just waiting to like hit the buzzer to beat the other guy to be like,
it did feel like that. Checker? Yeah. It did feel like, I mean, I'm glad they did that, but it did feel like, like the director would go like, okay, that was good. We're going to maybe take this part again. And then the fact checkers would go like, he missed, and it'd be like, fuck, like every time. So, so it's a grueling. And I thought like, well, I talk for a living, like that should be pretty easy. I've been a performer and a public speaker for many years, but that was much harder than the writing of the book. The writing of the book was really fun. So long story short, yes, I would totally write another book, and I would do another audiobook, but it would be like, okay, here goes. Like I would at least go into it not thinking like, I really thought I was going to go in and nail it, and they were going to be like, that's the best audiobook I've ever heard. Like, so, but that was the part that was like, man, I'm not great at this. So anyway, it's hard to do, but it seems like I pulled it off. So anyway, but thank you again for your interest in it, being willing to promote it. You're a good friend. I appreciate you doing that.
All right. I love you, buddy. I'll talk to you
Yeah.
later. Everybody, check out Jesse online. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, Ray DeVito, and Instagram, Ray.DeVito. All right. I love everybody. That's our show.
Vet
Peace.
your roommates, Ray, from now on. Like, just put their name into, whatever. Find out if they have a criminal record, whatever.
Yeah. No, I
okay.
was way too. Yeah. Way too. Yeah. The
You're very
one guy,
trusting.
the one guy with schizophrenia, I didn't mind. It's a dude that like. Also, I was kind of upset at our landlord that he waited 3 months to tell me.
Yeah.
Say, hey, dude, you could have done that month one. Month one, you could have been like, hey, I only got
Give you the
2/3.
benefit of the doubt. That's all.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
month 3.
Anyway.
All right. I love you, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Love you too. See you later, pal.